and things that's happening in the skyline right now, how things look in the sky is like this right here. One of them looked exactly like how there was a crown coming on top of the sun. A crown was actually coming on top of the sun. This right here represents that.
To life a horrifying, biblically accurate seraphim which appears strange and otherworldly to normal beings. Despite his position as leader of the Schutzstaffel and his immense power, however, Leal is the second member of the Schutzstaffel to be defeated in the final battle. Leal's first appearance in Bleach is in chapter 599 alongside Gerard and Pernida, though his first appearance in the anime is much earlier, appearing in episode 14 or chapter 543 in terms of the source material. Leal gets one of the longest fights in the series. His battle against Kyoraku and Nanao, which I've covered in depth for one of my Bleach battle analysis videos, is an incredible spectacle, even if the ending is a little dubious. As a result of this, despite not receiving any real backstory, Leal is one of the Sternritter with the most exposure across the arc, and his power set is fully realized, including his Volsten dish, which is called Ziliel, or the Judgment of God, which seems very fitting for one designated as God's chosen executioner. Leal's holy form is
It's an X and a Z,
and is one of the rare Volsten dish to elicit
with the
a
red
transformation. When transformed, Leal's Ziliel garbs him in a long, strange-looking robe which tapers off into 2 points at the bottom. In this form, Leal's arms are gone, either removed entirely or encased within the robe, which seems to have completely engulfed him, only the top half of Leal's face still visible as it pokes over the rim of his now enormous collar. A huge halo encircles the top of his form, and 8 massive feathered wings sprout from his back, each one lined with 3 circular holes. In this form, Leal is totally immune to physical attacks of any kind, be they with a Zanpakuto or even Kido. He's capable of genuine teleportation now as well, and can alter his form further, unraveling the bottom of the robe to reveal 2 alien, almost horse-like legs. It was at this point where things really started to click as far as working out what Kubo was doing with Leal, although of course on first glance it looked extremely strange and very weirdly abstract. Of course it was at this point where it was like, okay,
in the sky.
Kubo's trying to do something very
like
otherworldly here, something that we can't really comprehend, and in that sense I think he did actually succeed. After having his head destroyed by Kyoraku's Bankai, Leal's holy form changes again, restoring his head in a pillar of light, except now it sits on the end of a long, dragon-like neck, and his head resembles that of a cherubim,
represents the sun,
fair-skinned, and with curly, wavy hair, yet his facial features are now those of an owl's. This makes sense thematically again, and I actually think this is one of Kubo's coolest designs, even though he does stretch it to the point where my suspension of disbelief struggles a little bit. The cherubim attend directly to God, and that's of course Leal's position here as the leader of the Schutzstaffel. This form of Leal's has received some criticism from readers who believe the character no longer resembles the Sternritter at all at this point, both in appearance and personality. And while I do get that to some degree, I think this form is actually really cool, like I said, and it's genuinely imposing. I think this form is really supposed to be Leal's innate, zealous nature really brought to the forefront, as that zealotry does seem to be the main defining aspect of his personality. Of all of the Sternritter, he seems to be the one most devoted to Yhwach. For me, that struggle with the suspension of disbelief comes in mostly when Kubo does really strange and weird things with Leal's actual design with his body, making his head twist and warp and grow and expand, and it all just looks really strange. But the actual design itself, I am quite a big fan of. Interestingly, the anime has depicted a new, half-formed version of his holy form, producing just 2 of its wings and a much smaller, more generic-looking halo upon Leal's resurrection via the Owl's Valen. The colour of Leal's Volstendig is apparently emerald green, and as I've said in the past, I'm intrigued to see how that will look when he's a being made entirely of that light. The other Sternritter that make up the Schutzstaffel are as follows. Sternritters see the compulsory Pernida Parnkajaz, initially a weird, small, hooded Quincy whose true identity is unknown. And Pernida was always a really cool late-stage mystery. It was a lot of fun trying to figure out what this thing actually was. I mean, whatever this Quincy was, it didn't seem to be human, based on its bulbous, glowing eyes just barely visible beneath the rim of its hood, its odd, almost pentagonal head shape, and its unintelligible whispering, though apparently Leal could understand and translate it. Kubo drops a few hints along the way as to what Pernida's true identity is, with some of them being more overt than others, and it's finally revealed in its battle against Mayuri. Pernida is in fact the left arm of the Soul King, given sentience. Thanks to the anime as well, we now know how the left arm came into Yuha Bark's possession and why it serves him. Pernida's shrift, the compulsory, is, much like Leal's before it, incredibly dangerous, and so far I have to say as well, that as far as shrifts go, both the X-axis and the compulsory are two of my favourites, and are some of the most fleshed out and best developed abilities within the Sternritter. The most outwardly offensive capability of the compulsory is its power to control and warp things, both organic and inanimate, with its own nerves. As Pernida sends its nerves out, often imperceptibly, they force their way into the target's body. From there, Pernida can then control the target as it sees fit, often using its nerves to twist and destroy the victim's body in gruesome ways. Yoruichi has her arm instantly twisted, snapped, and broken, her bones curving before her eyes in a really awesome body horror image, something that Kubo is low-key kind of really good at, by the way, something we see a lot of here in the Thousand Year Blood War arc. And then next, Kenpachi's arm, after being controlled, tries to kill him with his own Zanpakuto, forcing the Shinigami to rip his renegade limb off, but not before it grips the blade
this represents
so
your mindset,
tightly
right?
that he has to tear his own fingers apart as well to actually free his Zanpakuto.
Your
Pernida's
mindset
nerves
war.
are able to affect and destroy
Mindset
virtually
war.
anything or anyone. The gigantic second-level divine soldier summoned by Senjumaru to defend the palace is turned into a contorted bloody pulp almost immediately, while during its battle with Mayuri, Pernida uses its nerves to basically take control of the entire floor of the battlefield. But the other, I would say, slightly more subtle aspect of the compulsory is Pernida's ability to continuously evolve.